Hey folks, Doc here. It's absolutely miserable outside today. I mean, it's really bad. We had a good stretch in February, and then apparently March it's winter again. Anyways, I've got a little bit of free time to myself, so I figured I'd get the 820 buttoned up and do a test fit in Fugazi just to see how things are going to line up. Mounting holes, you know, the input shaft. And rather importantly, I wanted to find out if the ITP 22-inch mud lights were going to fit without a pile of fender trimming. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to test fit that sucker and hope for the best. Stay tuned. Alright, I figure I'll give you a look at this thing before I stitch it up. As you can see, all the parts have been cleaned, and if you look closely between the gears, you know, you can see that I've pre-lubricated some spots with grease. Pretty much anywhere one part is going to bear against another, and that's just basically to get everything slicked up before the oil has a chance to circulate. This is, of course, being converted for oil-filled operation. I've loaded it with some 15W40 diesel grade heavy-duty engine oil. I've had good luck with ATF in the past, automatic transmission fluid, but I decided to go with something a little bit thicker this time around. Now, I have had problems in the past with 90 weight gear oil giving me shift difficulties in ultra cold weather. I don't plan on using this much in very, very cold weather, but I thought the 15W40 engine oil would be a good compromise between the two. As you can see, I've run a bead of RTV around everything. This is the, I don't know where I put the tube. This is the same black oil resistant silicone that I used on the Transaxle when I did the Doc Locker 2.0. Oh, here it is. Hang on a second. There you go, the Permatex Ultra Black. Anyways, yeah, she's about good to go. I shot some of this stuff. I cleaned the keyways first with some brake cleaner, but I shot some into the keyways where they pass through the bearings to try and keep the oil at bay. And I went around the bearing halves where the shafts protrude from the case. There is O-rings in there. That should help keep the oil where it's supposed to go. And now I'm just letting the stuff skim up just a little bit before I stitch the case closed. Now, one thing I did do, and I'll detail this in another segment, is I changed out the needle bearings in these units here for bushings. Now, I have been told that when you swap a straight shaft into one of these transaxles, the needle bearings will beat the crap out of that straight shaft because it's not as hardened as the factory Peerless axle shafts. I find that a little bit difficult to believe because of the fact that I nicked this shaft with a file and then I nicked a factory axle shaft with a file, and they felt to be about the same hardness to me. That being said, I do have a keyway going throughout, and I didn't like the idea of the needle bearings bouncing in and out of that keyway as they go by. They're contained in a cage, but they're still going to bounce, and that's still going to be hard on things, so I decided to swap in the bushings. And like I said, I'll detail that later. So now that my RTV is skimming up, I'm going to throw the lid on this thing and button it down. Time to start working on fitting this pig. The life of a mechanical guy on YouTube. Rule number one, the compressor always kicks in when you're filming. Yeah, that was exciting. Alright. 1MST206 out. Alright, so I've had a preliminary look at things. I haven't finished painting the case yet because I know I'm probably going to beat it up trying to test fit it. And I haven't got my pulley sorted out yet, and I haven't got my shift linkage sorted out yet. Oh, here's that thing I was telling you about the shift rod being significantly longer on the MST than it is on the 820. I've decided that instead of trying to cut and lengthen this shaft and still have the difficulty of getting it to be able to pass through the case, I'm going to try and take this arm, hoping it'll fit that boss, which I assume it will. There's a square shape and an oblong shape, and I can probably make one fit the other. I'm just going to cut this and lift this part up. Anyways, yeah, there it is in all of its glory, and I'm about to test fit it, and I'll get everything sitting where it's supposed to. I'm a little bit concerned about the pulley height. I've got a big hub that's got to go on there, and I don't know if it's going to clear. See if you can see in there that plate there with the shift mechanism on it all in there. I'm not sure it's going to clear that plate. So that's why we're doing the test fit and some measurements. Once I know everything's good to go, then I'll worry about the pulley and the linkages and all that crap. Forward mount, that I think we're going to have to alter its position. That doesn't seem to want to line up anywhere in particular. Shit, I was afraid of that. How wide that axle is, eh? 36 inches. I am ultimately going to trim that down once I get my wheels figured out, position and all that. Now, with regards to that pulley hub space, I think I'm okay. It's in a rather difficult location to shoot. Very difficult, but if I can just sneak the camera in there, you can see where the input shaft is, and it looks like I've got a good inch clearance to that cross member there. That's not a problem. I know I don't need all of that inch. We're good there. We're at a stage of the game now where I can no longer ignore my tires. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm getting kind of hot and bothered to see if the new rubber's gonna happen without a fight. So I've got my hubs here, piece of key stock, and you know, leaving the axle long until I can make some determinations gives me the opportunity to trim it to a required length later. There's a little bit of crap on that key. You know what? We're just going to ignore the key for the moment. We'll buzz that through the wire wheel and clean that up. In the meantime, let's see what happens here, because I'm dying to know. 22 11/8 ITP mud lights on 8x7 5-bolt trailer wheels. Please go, please go, please go. Oh, there is a God. Look at that. Oh my goodness, yes. Just gonna get a couple of lug nuts on that just to secure it to the hub so I can move the wheel and the hub as one. Oh, I'm a happy bastard now. Yeah. I could trim the fenders. I just didn't want to have to. Dude, that is sexy. So I decided to drop her off the jacks and have a look at ride height, because that was something that concerned me. With the big changes in tire sizes front to rear, I was worried about this thing sitting with its nose up, you know, some kind of squat thing. This door's kind of in the way. Gotta get out of the shop. I know this picture doesn't give you a very clear picture. I'll have to take it outside for some pictures later as I get further into the process. But I measured from the frame to the shop floor at the front and at the rear. It looks like the front of the frame sits maybe 3/8 of an inch lower than the rear does. She's almost perfectly level, and I'm very happy with that. So, for reference, the Carlisle X-Trax at 16 by 650 by 8 fit very nicely on the 1975 Sears Suburban rims. The width is fantastic, and the fitment on the spindle is bang on perfect. It's a direct bolt-on for anybody with a Murray like this that wants to put 8-inch tires on the front, shop for some older Suburban rims, and bolt-on, no issues. And in the rear, just a reminder, these are 22 by 11 by 8 ITP mud lights. and they're on 8x7 5-bolt trailer wheels. Beautiful. God, I'm loving this. Alright, so at least for now, I'm going to go ahead and get these hubs on. I've made some spacers out of some 1-inch pipe. They're about 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm just going to hit this thing with some anti-seize. So I'll get it on the other side of the spacer too. Liberal amounts of anti-seize, which is one of the very few things that I do that's at all liberal in nature. There we go. Okay, so the stop that I've made, the collar, is going to lock the key from walking out that way. And I've got these 1-inch lock collars I'm going to use on the end of the axle shaft here to keep everything retained. Now these are the single set screw type lock collars, which is not my preference for this particular application, because when it all comes down to it, you've got one set screw holding the wheel on. This is only going to be temporary. I'm going to be getting the 2-bolt clamp together type, I do believe. But for now, I want to be able to get this thing down on its wheels. Actually, I don't like that there. I'm going to put that in a better place. Get this thing down on its wheels and continue on. So for now, we'll just tighten those down good. We're going to skip the Loctite for the moment, because I know I'm going to have to disassemble them again. It is seriously windy and miserable out here, but I had to roll her out of the shop just to be able to get a look at it. So if the audio sucks, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about that. Yep. Yeah, the stance is pretty close to level, maybe rake slightly forward. I'm very happy with that. Oh, look at that behind. Yeah, baby. All right, fantastic. Okay, so I got to work on setting up the shift linkage and brakes and the pulley swaps and all that stuff. And, oh wow, this sucks. I'm going back in the shop. Right, so that takes care of the Doc Locked 820 test fit in Fugazi. Obviously, I still have a bunch of things to do to make it drivable. I've got to do the pulleys. I'm going to pulley swap the engine, which looks like it's going to be a real pain in the carcass due to a plate that's there. I'll show you that when we get to it. I've got a new pulley for the trans. I've just got to weld it together and get it on there, get a new belt. Got to get the shift linkage sorted out. I've figured out what I have to do with the height of the shift linkage, so that's no problem. I just have to do it and get the brakes connected and functioning. I am going to do a major brake upgrade in the future, just not right now. I just want to be able to get it drivable as soon as possible. And away we go from there. I was mostly concerned today about getting the tranny fitted and get the wheels on to see what I was going to have to do with regards to clearance, you know, regarding the resonator and the pipes and the fenders, and I've got absolutely no problem in that department, which is beautiful. Anyway, she's sitting pretty. I love the way it looks, and I hope you do too. And I thank you for tuning in to Sprocket's Garage on YouTube. Until next time, take care of yourself.